Women's History Month. At some point, an ordinary, everyday person records their story, and it becomes history. 30 years ago, I found a shoebox in my grandparents' attic with memoirs, letters written in the 1800s. No relation to our family. Years later, when my life had allowed time to return to that unwanted box, the writer, Adelaide Hall, had documented stories of her family. 6 siblings with a single mom, no electricity, farming for food, mail was delivered once a week, perhaps if the roads were not treacherous. Among her memoirs were several letters written to her from the Civil War battlefield, which I surmised this is the reason why they were at my grandparents'. My grandfather was an Army War historian in Washington, D.C. As I had examined her letters, it became clear to me she had intended publication. She had laid out every chapter exactly the way she wanted her story to be told. And so, I set out to transcribe her handwritten letters, and I published it for her 200 years later. As it turned out, Adelaide Hall had a brother named Asa Hall, who went on to become an astronomer, the astronomer who discovered the 2 moons around Mars, and worked at the Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C., where it was said that Abraham Lincoln came to visit him late in the night because he heard he was up to something. But there is little documented on Asa's earlier years, his childhood years, until I discovered his sister's letters, of which she gives plenty of stories about their life growing up on a farm in Goshen, Connecticut, all those years ago. So you see, what may have seemed to be an ordinary woman documenting stories of her earlier childhood later shed fascinating light on historical events. And so I ask you, where's your stories? Have you taken the time to document things that are part of your life, part of your story? I know that these findings certainly inspired me to take the time to start documenting mine. So much so that I even devised a plan, a style to be able to help others, to perhaps inspire them to write their stories. I call it time treasures. So why not let Women's History Month inspire you to get your stories told? Her stories almost ended up in the trash. Do you want to take yours with you? Get your stories written before it's too late. If you need a little help inspiring you to jumpstart the way to go about writing your stories, let me know. I'd be happy to help you. Otherwise, if you're simply interested in reading Adelaide's stories, you can find the booklet on Amazon. Enjoy Women's History Month and start documenting your history before it's too late.